Hi, my name is Debra Loder. I'm the registered dietitian, nutritionist, and dietary manager here at Wickenburg Community Hospital. I'm here today to talk to you about the subject of cooking oils, basically, but what we're really talking about is fat. So I know that when that word comes up, people go, fat, but let's not worry about that so much. We'll talk a little bit about the health benefits of oils and fats and what you need to know in order to choose appropriately and to choose for your lifestyle. So fat, along with protein and carbohydrates, is a macronutrient. So what that means is it's a nutrient that we need in larger amounts than a micronutrient like a vitamin or a mineral. But the difference between, the big difference between carbohydrates and proteins and then fats is that carbohydrates and proteins have 4 calories per gram, and fats, including oils, have 9 calories per gram. So they're twice as what we call calorically dense, which means they have more calories per gram of the fat. When we talk about fats, we can kind of divide them into several different categories. If I had a steak here with the layer of fat around it, or if I had a cube of butter, we would talk about those things as saturated fats. Those are solid and firm at room temperature. So at room temperature, they're going to keep their shape. The oils, on the other hand, are liquid at room temperature. So all of these, when you shake them, they're liquid because they've been at room temperature. So we have some other fat terms that we need to talk about. One of those is cholesterol. So cholesterol isn't technically a fat, but we talk about cholesterol when we talk about fats and when we talk about especially our cholesterol that's in our blood. So cholesterol is not only found in food, but it's found in as a part of our blood. So what the cholesterol in food does, though, is it helps to digest fats. It helps to build cells. So that's really important to our body when we're talking about healing, when we're talking about brain development, because we want something that is going to help build cells. Cholesterol also makes vitamin D and some hormones. So cholesterol plays a real significant role in our body. And it's found only in animal products. So it's in fatty meats and poultry. It's found in egg yolks. That's why sometimes people say, oh, I'll just eat the egg white because I don't want the cholesterol in the egg yolk. It's also found in liver and other organ meats, and also in shrimp and squid. On the other hand, your vegetable products, vegetable oils, don't have cholesterol because, remember, cholesterol is only in animal products. Okay, so the next way we can talk about fats is back to the solid at room temperature, which are our saturated fats. Saturated fats, they raise the level of our bad cholesterol, which is the LDL. So if you have your labs done and your doctor says, well, your bad cholesterol was too high and your good cholesterol was too low, well, that's what we're talking about. The LDLs are the bad cholesterol. So we want to keep that as low as we can. So that means not eating so many saturated fats because they do raise your LDLs. Saturated fats, once again, are found in butter. They're found in fat on the meat, lard, whole milk products. That's another thing that I didn't mention before. Whole milk has saturated fat in it. If you think about when we had people milked a cow at home, that when that fat would rise to the top of the milk, that is the saturated fat, and that's what the farmer's wife would use to make butter. So anything that's whole milk or cream or half and half has more saturated fat than does skim milk or 1% or 2% milk. And that goes for the other products like whole milk yogurt, whole milk cottage cheese. If it says 4% cottage cheese, that means it has whole milk in it. The other thing that saturated fats are tropical oils such as coconut oil, palm oil, and palm kernel oil. And we'll talk a little bit about coconut oil in a little while because it's hot. It's a hot topic these days, and so we'll kind of address that a little bit. Then the other fats, we remember the cholesterol, which isn't technically a fat, and then the saturated fats, and now we'll talk about unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats are usually called oils, or oils are unsaturated fats, so that's what they are. We have polyunsaturated oils, which means that they are well, it's a chemical thing. So it's these hydrogen bonds in the fat molecule. So it's poly. So there's a lot of unsaturated parts of that oil, and that's found in vegetable oils, corn oils, soybean oils, and safflower oils. It's also found in seafood. So the polyunsaturated fats in seafood are healthier than, say, the saturated fats in chicken or pork or beef. There's also monounsaturated fats, and those are really help with the LDLs. That's the bad cholesterol, helps bring them down. It helps raise the good HDLs, so high density lipoproteins. That's the good cholesterol. So we have monounsaturated fats in olives, olive oil, avocado, nuts, peanut oil, canola oil. So those are all really good forms of monounsaturated fats. And remember that helps to lower the bad cholesterol and raise the good cholesterol. So that's what you want. Now there's another type of fat that has been more in the nutrition news lately in the past few years, and that's called trans fats. So trans fats, it's a chemical reaction that takes an oil like this, let's see, what is this? Peanut oil. So it takes this, and through a process of hydrogenation, it adds the hydrogen bonds into that oil, and what happens, it becomes solid at room temperature. So we see this in a lot of different products. What it does is it allows for a longer shelf life. It adds flavor to the food, so it's more flavorful, but unfortunately it does raise that bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol. So what are the sources of trans fats? Well, shortening, like Crisco shortening, that's a trans fat. If you look at the label, it says vegetable shortening, and it is, but what's happened is it's been chemically changed to be from a vegetable oil into this solid compound. And so the other things are margarine and salad dressings, and then it's also widely used in creating snack foods, cookies, crackers. It's used widely in fast food for frying and things like that. So trans fats are widely used, but they also, remember, raise that LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol. So when we talk about fats, a lot of people say, like I said at the beginning, ooh, fat. But we really need it in our bodies. There are a lot of reasons to have fat in our diet. And when we're talking about fat today, we're talking about dietary fat, the fat that comes in our food. So one of the reasons that it's important to have fat in our diet is fat helps us absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K. Those are known as the fat-soluble vitamins. So if we don't have enough fat in our diet, we tend to not absorb those vitamins that are critical for our health. And it's, once again, A, D, E, and K. It also helps us stay full longer. It provides satiety. So you've probably noticed, or maybe you haven't noticed, but if you eat something that doesn't have any fat in it, if you're eating maybe, let's think of just a salad without a salad dressing or something like that, you might not feel full for very long because it doesn't have the fat in it. So fat is really important for satiety or to make you feel full longer. It also promotes normal cell growth. So it's critical when we have an injury or a cut or have had surgery to make sure that we have enough fat and protein in our diet that we can heal those damaged cells as well as create new cells. Fat is also a source of energy. So our bodies would prefer, you've probably heard me say this before, our bodies prefer to use carbohydrates for energy. But our bodies also will store fat to use for energy if we don't have enough carbohydrates in our diet. So the body is not real efficient at turning fat into what can be used as energy. It's a long process and our body's not real efficient at that. So once again, it's a resource, but if we have enough carbohydrates and just the right balance of fat, then we just store enough to make sure that we are prepared for emergencies. Fats also, and you know this as well as I do, that fats enhance flavor and texture of our foods. So when we talk about having a slice of whole wheat toast in the morning, you know, none of us really like to have that whole wheat toast without something on it, and that usually is butter, and you can tell how much better it tastes with the butter on it. The other thing is the texture of foods. So without fats, you know, things wouldn't get fried crispy with that nice crisp outer crunch like we see in a French fry. So the taste and the texture of foods is greatly enhanced by fats. I want to talk to you about a few different fats. I've got some of them here on my table, and I'm going to talk about a few of them and how they're best used in cooking. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more and specifically about olive oil, because olive oil is like the king of oils these days. We really do talk a lot about EVOO, which is extra virgin olive oil. We talk about using it for heart health. So I want to talk about that in a little bit more depth. But we'll talk first about coconut oil. So coconut oil, as I mentioned earlier, is a saturated fat, and that's because coconut oil is solid at room temperature. And you know, I didn't think about opening this earlier. I don't know that I can get it off without some kind of a knife or something. But this jar is not, it's a plastic jar, so it's not clear like a glass jar would be. But I want to show you that the coconut oil is solid at room temperature. And I'm going to manage this. There we go. So if we look at the olive oil, and I'm even going to do something that I hadn't planned on, but I'm going to use this little spoon that I had planned for something else, and I can show you that it is indeed solid at room temperature. I'm having to scoop it out with the spoon, and it's not hard, but it's very solid. Now, coconut oil is used in a lot of different things, like makeup. It's used in hand lotions. It's used in baby lotions and things like that. Some people even just use coconut oil like this on their hands as a moisturizer. It's very, very good for that. but it's also really good for cooking. It has a relatively high smoke point, which is 450 degrees, and that's good for sauteing or roasting, and it gives a very light coconut flavor.
We have a question from
Okay.
Sharon, and she
Hi,
would
Sharon.
like to know, how should we store our coconut oil?
Well, I'll address all oils as far as that goes. Coconut oil should be stored in the refrigerator. All oils will go rancid fairly quickly, especially here in Arizona where we're kind of hot. And I opened this bottle of walnut oil earlier, and it smells a little rancid. I planned on using it, but I didn't have it in the refrigerator, and now I wish I had, because it's a little bit rancid. So that's a good reason to store any oil in the refrigerator, is to keep it not rancid longer. If you smell a rancid oil, you absolutely know for sure that your oil is bad, because it has a very distinct odor. So I recommend in the refrigerator. It's, like I said, it's got a very light coconut oil, coconut scent to it and flavor. And there are two different coconut oils. One is refined and one is unrefined. And the unrefined, if you find it, has more of a coconut flavor. So it depends on what you want to use them for, but they have different smoke points. And that's the point when you heat it up to which it can go without kind of ruining the good effects of the oil or the fat. And what it does is it gives off free radicals, and that's a whole different discussion. But what we want to do is not heat our oils over the point to where they will burn up or get real smoky. And so what the smoke point is for unrefined is coconut oil is 350. So if it's unrefined, you would want to use it in things like baking, and especially if you wanted to put it in a baked good that has already some coconut flavor, it would just enhance that flavor. There is some controversy about the health benefits of coconut oil, and it's been a really hot topic. It's calorically dense. You have to always remember that. It is a saturated fat, but it has some pretty amazing benefits as far as cosmetically. It's good for your skin, your hair, and in your food, it does have its place. So what I always say when people say, should I be using a lot of coconut oil, I say use all oils in moderation and use a wide variety of oils. So don't just base everything on coconut oil, because it does still have some negatives as well as some positives. I'm going to skip over olive oil because I want to go into that in a little bit more depth, and I'm going to talk to you about avocado oil. So avocado oil is made from the flesh of avocados. If you have worked with avocados a lot, you know that they're oily. And so what's done is the avocado flesh is mashed and pressed, and the oil is taken out of it, and it's yummy. It tastes like avocado. It has a high smoke point, and so it's really good for cooking. The smoke point for avocado oil for refined is 520. That's really hot. So you could do sauteing, you could use it with grilling and things like that. The other thing though is it's so yummy that it really is a good addition to a salad dressing. There is a recipe that I will tell you. So grab a pen and paper if you don't have one, and if you don't have one and want this recipe, just email me here at the hospital and I'd be glad to send it to you. Anyway, it's a homemade mayonnaise using avocado oil. Why make mayonnaise? Well, if you make your own, you can avoid the chemicals that go into purchased mayonnaise. You can also, you decide how much like sugar or salt that you want in it. So there are some reasons to use it. So you put 2 egg yolks into a blender. You add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and 1 cup of avocado oil, and then just a little bit of salt, just a pinch of salt. You can adjust the seasonings by adding pepper, a little bit more salt, some paprika for color, whatever you like in your mayonnaise. And then you just whiz it in the blender until it's thick and creamy. What happens is the egg yolks help emulsify the oil and the lemon juice, and that means bringing them together so that they won't separate later. We'll talk a little bit more about that because I'm going to make a salad dressing in a minute. But anyway, 2 egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a cup of avocado oil, and a pinch of salt. Now, you might ask, well, what about those raw egg yolks? Well, you can get, you want to get the very best eggs that you can get, and you want to make sure that they're really fresh and from a reliable source. So I wouldn't use homegrown eggs. I would make sure that I'm buying the best eggs that I can get in the supermarket. And the next thing is the lemon juice will help kill any bacteria that's in that. I see another question.
Yes. Sharon asked, can we use bottled lemon juice?
Yes, you could use bottled lemon juice. I've even heard of people making mayonnaise using a really good quality vinegar. So you want something that offers that tartness, so bottled lemon juice would be just fine to use. Good question, Sharon. So once again, the avocado oil is versatile because it can be used for cooking. It can be used for the salad dressings or for the mayonnaise. It's a heart-healthy oil, just like avocados are. It has anti-inflammatory properties in it that help with a lot of different things in our body, helps with heart disease, helps with blood pressure. So it's a really good, healthy oil to consider when using an oil. Another is pumpkin seed oil, and I was not able to find it, but I will tell you about it. Pumpkin seed oil is a power-packed food that's rich in vitamins A, K, and E, and it also has omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And somebody's probably going to ask a question about omega-3s and omega-6, but I'm going to defer those questions because early in the year of 2021, we will talk exclusively about omega-6, omega-3, and omega-9 fatty acids. So I'll ask you to hold your questions till then, and if you just can't wait, send me an email, and I will be glad to address your question that way. So pumpkin seed oil, once again, is very high in those vitamins. It has a very rich green color, and it's very nutty tasting. If you've ever purchased sunflower seed butter, it's like peanut butter, but it's sunflower seed butter, and it has the same nutty flavor. It's really delicious. It doesn't have a very high smoke point, so I recommend using it in low temperature cooking, or using it as a salad oil or a dipping oil or a finishing oil, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Walnut oil is, like I said earlier, is prone for becoming rancid, so you want to make sure you keep this in the refrigerator. I would recommend all of them in the refrigerator. But as we know, walnuts are very healthy for us. They have the omega-3 fatty acids. They're a significant source of iron, zinc, calcium, and magnesium. And oh my goodness, walnuts are just so flavorful. So they really create an oil that is rich and nutty flavored. It tastes just like a walnut. Diets that are rich in walnuts and walnut oil have been shown to help our body respond to stress and blood pressure. So it can really help with controlling our blood pressure. It's really best when uncooked. It's really best to not cook with walnut oil. So use this for a salad dressing. You can dress pasta with it. You could, make some pasta noodles and then just dress it with a little bit of the walnut oil, and then add some walnuts for crunch. Toast some walnuts in a skillet and add them for crunch, and then a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and it would be a really nice pasta dish that would have all your carbohydrates, your really good heart healthy fat, and then some protein from the cheese and the walnuts. And once again, it would make an ideal salad dressing. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do this because I let this go rancid, which really upsets me to do that. So grapeseed oil, this is grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is a byproduct of making wine because they take the grape seeds and smash them and get the oil out of them. And so it is really a really good oil for cooking because it has a good smoke point. It's neutral as far as flavor, so you can use it in most anything. So it would be just a good oil, heart healthy, to use for everyday use. Let's see. It also, of course, could be used as a salad dressing or in a marinade. You don't have to cook with it. You can use it for just anything because it's got that neutral flavor. Peanut oil. Do I have peanut oil? I do. Peanut oil has a bold, kind of nutty, sweet flavor, and it's made up of mostly monounsaturated fatty acids, and so remember, it will help us to reduce our bad cholesterol and help increase our good cholesterol. So that's what we want. So it's a really good heart healthy oil, and it's got a really high smoke point, so it's really good for stir frying. And if you prepare a lot of Asian food at home, the recipe will almost always tell you to use peanut oil. I see we have a question.
Not a question, but they also recommend using peanut oil to fry your turkeys as we have Thanksgiving around the corner.
Oh, okay. Peanut oil for frying your turkey at Thanksgiving time. And you know why that is? It's because that high smoke point. So that's why it's a really good oil. And the other thing that I would say, some of these have higher smoke points, but they also have higher price tags. So peanut oil is relatively inexpensive, so it's a good thing to use when you need to use a lot of oil. But I'm going to stop there and say, please be careful when you're frying your turkeys. Follow all the directions on the recipe that you're using on your turkey fryer. So, because hot oil, as you all know, can be very dangerous. So I'll just stop and give you that advice, if I can, to be really careful when you're frying your turkey or anything else. Okay. Sesame oil. So sesame oil is absolutely loaded with antioxidants. It is a really, really healthy oil to use. It also has been known to help lower blood pressure. It also helps blood sugar control, so it's a good oil for helping with diabetes, and it's very good for our skin. So sesame oil is a really powerhouse oil. It has a very distinct flavor, and it's sort of a nutty flavor. This is not toasted, so there's a difference between sesame oil and toasted sesame oil. Sesame oil has that rich nutty flavor, but toasted sesame oil would be nuttier and more distinct, and it's used more as a finishing oil. You want to use it after you've prepared the dish, and then just a drizzle for flavor. Sesame oil provides 17% of the recommended daily value of vitamin K in a tablespoon. So that's another reason to use sesame oil. It It helps prevent blood clotting because of that vitamin K, and it supports our bones. That's what vitamin K is good for. This sesame oil has a smoke point of 410 degrees, so you could use it for most anything. But if you're using a cold pressed sesame oil, then you don't want to heat it. It's better to use in salad dressings and things like that, or as a finishing oil. And then flaxseed oil. I don't have flaxseed oil with me today, but it has a very distinct flavor. A lot of people don't care for it, but it's very healthy. It's very good for our digestive system. It can help with people who suffer from constipation. Flaxseed and flaxseed oil are both good for that. It also is good to help lower our blood pressure and our blood cholesterol, so that helps with heart disease. So it's a very good oil, but like I said, a lot of people don't like the flavor of it. So you can hide that in a smoothie or in a salad dressing, something like that. It's not very good heated because it changes the flavor. And then sunflower. Did I do sunflower already? Thought I already talked about that. So sunflower seed oil, it helps with improving our heart health. It is a cancer-fighting oil. Sunflower seeds are really healthy. That's a great thing to put on top of your salad or in a cookie because they're really healthy. They help to lower our bad cholesterol, and they boost energy, and it has a high smoke point, so that's good for sauteing and things like that. Do we have a question?
We do have a question. If you could please repeat the benefits of vitamin K for us.
Vitamin K. Vitamin K helps our bones, helps with our bone health and strength. It also helps with blood clotting. So if you are on a medication to thin out your blood, you're probably cautioned to not eat a lot of foods that are high in vitamin K. But otherwise, it's fine to have vitamin K in your diet, and it's very helpful to help with blood clotting. So, but if you don't want your blood to clot, then if you want to keep it thin because of heart disease, then you want to watch those things. But I hope that answers your question. Canola oil. And do I have canola oil? I don't know if I do. I don't. My helper over there, Monique, says I don't have canola oil. But you've all heard of canola oil. And it has a really good ratio of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. So that's why it's really heart healthy. But like I said, we'll talk about those things later. Canola oil has, when it's in that omega-3 and omega-6 ratio, it helps battle cancer, it helps with arthritis, it helps with asthma. So see, there are really good reasons to use all these oils. It's a really good oil for just everyday cooking. So if you just go to the store and you just want to do your everyday sauteing and you're not worried about a specific flavor, canola oil is a really good oil. And then there are other things that are blends of oils. This is a blend of canola, sunflower, and soybean oils. And so this is just, it's called Crisco Blends. So you can kind of look at this and read the label and see what's in it. Some blends and some vegetable oils have things in it that you really don't want it to have. So read your labels and make sure that you're getting what you really want out of your oils. Do we have a question?
We do. Sharon says that she's read canola oil's name is only because it's from Canada, ? What is the source?
So that is true. So canola oil is the CAN, comes from Canada, and it is made from rape seeds. So that's what it comes from. Okay. A couple of other things that are fun, you can find infused oils. And so this oil is extra virgin olive oil infused with orange and rosemary. So what would we use this for? Well, I wondered that myself because, it was a little bit expensive, and so I wondered, am I only going to be able to use this for salad dressing or something like that? But it says dip, toss, drizzle, or saute. So I'm thinking it would be good for, dipping your bread in, or tossing with a salad, or as a finishing oil, or sauteing with it. It gives us the information that we need to shake it, because whatever's good in there settles to the bottom. So this was kind of fun, and I'm really anxious to start using this. Oh my goodness, there are olive oil stores that have infused oils of every flavor. The other thing that, I don't buy a lot of oil for home use, mostly olive oil, so, and a little bit of vegetable oil or canola oil. But I was interested to find out that there's a lot of the sprays, a lot of oil sprays on the market now. So the purpose of having it in a spraying form is that it really helps to control the amount that you put into your pan before you saute. So this is 100% grapeseed oil, non-stick cooking spray. It says it has no propellants, and so, go figure. It says there's no calories in it. I guess that's because it's negligible. So most of these will have 120 calories. It'll say 120 calories per 1 tablespoon serving. So, okay, now as promised, I'm going back and I'm going to talk about olive oil. So olive oil is one of the oldest and most celebrated foods on the planet. It's been consumed for thousands of years, and in the beginning the olives would be smashed underfoot while wearing wooden sandals or with a mortar and pestle, and then the olive oil would be extracted. Well, now it's done in modern ways, but it's still very important oil. And I have here the one that's extra virgin, and then I have one that is it's called 100% pure. You'll see a lot of different terms on the olive oil label. It's mostly monounsaturated fatty acids, and it has in it an anti-inflammatory fatty acid that's called oleic acid, and it has some vitamin or omega-3s in it. It has phytosterols, which help with certain types of cancer and also help to reduce our blood cholesterol. So it is a really healthy part of our diet. How do you use olive oil? Well, the ones that are extra virgin, like this, you think about the extra virgins more as having more flavor. So you want to use those where you can really make the best of the flavor of the olive oil. It has a nice, rich olive flavor. So that would be best for drizzling over bread, or for using it for a salad dressing, where you want to have that rich flavor of the olive oil. The other olive oils are, and the extra virgin is from the first pressing of the olives. So the oil that comes out of the first pressing, and then they're further pressed and mechanically altered, and then they press more olive oil out of it. So the first press is the extra virgin. Like I said, it has high levels of anti-inflammatories and antioxidants, and actually some antimicrobial properties. So it's really it's a good, healthy, heart-healthy oil that is just delicious in a lot of different applications. If you don't want to use the extra virgin for very hot temperatures, but it is good for sauteing. It's good for light pan frying, things like that, and especially good for salad dressings and drizzling. I think that I'm going to stop with that information, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what do I mean by drizzling and salad dressings and things like that. And we have a question.
Yes. Can we make our mayo with olive oil just like the avocado oil?
Absolutely. Yes. You can make the mayo with any oil. Any oil will do just fine. So if you want to use olive oil and have that rich flavor, you can actually purchase olive oil mayonnaise. So yeah, but your mayo, just use that same recipe. Let me back up a little bit. Sometimes it's easier for it to emulsify if when you put your egg yolks and your lemon juice in the blender container, then whiz that just to get them together, and then drizzle in your olive oil or your walnut oil or your avocado oil, whatever you want to use. Drizzle it in, and it helps it emulsify a little bit better than just clumping it all in. So I hope that helps. You can find a recipe for mayo online, and once again, if you need to email me, my email address is Debra, Debra, .Loder, Loder, @wickhosp.com. So it's WICKHOSP.com. So let me talk a little bit about some things I've got over here on this table. I'll move some things out of the way. If it weren't for COVID, we would have this in a nice conference room, and I'd be standing up and you get to taste samples, and I just miss our days of having live learning sessions with you. So hopefully we'll get back to that day one of these days. So what I have here is just a simple salad, and I'm going to talk about just making a vinaigrette. So vinaigrette is so easy to make, and they're so much better than purchased salad dressings. Go to the supermarket or your refrigerator and pull out a bottle of salad dressing and look at the ingredients. And then you'll understand why it's so important that you make your mayonnaise, your salad dressings at home. One of these days I'm going to have a session on just salad dressings, but today we're just going to make a simple vinaigrette. In my jar, this jar has indicators for the amount, so I have 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. I use the extra virgin olive oil, and a good ratio is 3 parts of oil to 1 part of vinegar. So because I want my olive oil to shine in this vinaigrette, I'm using a light flavored vinegar. So I'm using just a white wine vinegar. If I use balsamic or something like that, then I wouldn't have the flavor from my olive oil, which I really want to have. So I've got 3/4 of a cup in here, so I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of oil, and I have my nice little markings on here, so when I get to 1 cup, I will know that I've got enough. So that's my vinegar. So you could also use lemon juice, you could use lime juice, you could use orange juice. If you used orange juice, it might not be tart enough, so you might want to add in a little bit of lemon juice as well, or a tiny bit of vinegar. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add is just a little bit of Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard does what the egg yolk does. It helps emulsify. And I have a messy top, so I'm just going to squeeze in a couple of teaspoons, and I am going to then add a bit of salt and pepper. So just about, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I just use kosher salt or sea salt, and then a little bit of pepper. Now, you can use white pepper, you can use black pepper, you can use the really coarse ground pepper, which I love, or you can eliminate it if you're not a pepper person. You could also use some paprika, You could use some red chili flakes. That would be really good. And I always add a little touch of honey because I like that little bit of sweetness. And last weekend, my husband and I went to on vacation, and we found this yummy honey store up in Sedona, and oh my goodness, they have the best honeys there. It was so much fun. So now all we have to do is tighten our lid and shake, 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 shake. The shaking does what the blender does when you're making mayonnaise. It emulsifies it, which helps the liquid, which is your vinegar, and the oil stay together and not separate out. Otherwise, they would separate. So look at that beautiful color on my little vinaigrette. And that comes from the really pretty color of the olive oil. So I would just drizzle a little bit on my salad, and all I've got here is a little bit of avocado, some lettuce, and some tomato. And what a nice little simple salad to really showcase my rich olive oil. So that's what I'm doing. I'm really showcasing that olive oil and making the most of it. So there's a little salad. I said a minute ago that I would use a flavorful oil as a finishing oil. So what that means is finishing the dish by using a little bit of oil or fat. So what we do sometimes is we'll put a pat of butter on a dish to finish it. So maybe on our green beans or our broccoli, we'll put a pat of butter, or on our mashed potatoes. So instead of doing that or putting sour cream on, something like that, we're going to use a really heart-healthy oil. So I have a bowl of butternut squash soup here, and I had planned on the walnut oil that went rancid, but instead we're going to use the really highly flavored olive oil. So this is the extra virgin, and what I would do is just drizzle on a little to just add that final touch, and then I might add in some walnuts for crunch and a little bit of added nutrition from those walnuts. So that's a really good way to use these oils that have a lot of flavor. And then finally, I'll have to tell on Monique, because she came in and she saw the bread and the oil, and she says, "Oh, I want to dip some bread in oil," and that's a really yummy thing to do. So bread and butter, we all love bread and butter, but the butter, as we've learned, is not so heart healthy for us, and so a better way to get that flavor is to use olive oil or one of your heart healthy oils that have a lot of flavor. Even in restaurants today, we see plates of bread brought along with a dish that they've poured some oil in and maybe added some herbs and things like that to it. So you just take a little bit of your really good extra virgin olive oil, the one that has all that flavor. If you want a little bit of extra flavor, depending on your bread, you can sprinkle in a little bit of salt and pepper. You could use a little bit of rosemary, especially fresh rosemary, and then you just take your bread and take a piece off and then dip it, and there you are. So I can just imagine these things not at a crowded table with all these oil bottles, but at a nice dinner table, a nice bowl of soup with some crunchy walnuts on it, a light salad that's highlighting some extra virgin olive oil, and a piece of crusty bread. What could be better than that? I really hope that you've enjoyed today. It's been fun to be here and talk about oils. Once again, if you have any questions about this and you would like to email me, my email address is debra.loder@wickhosp.com. If you're interested in an appointment with me to talk about any health needs, you can call my scheduler. Her name is Sandy, 928-668-1811. I hope you'll join us next month when we're going to talk about healthy and tasty fall foods. So it's the third Thursday of the month, or third Wednesday of the month, and we'll talk about tasty and nutritious fall foods. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again. Bye.